Thanks for joining today's webinar about e-invoicing, especially about e-invoicing outbound, where we are going to send invoices through the e-invoicing platforms. I will start with the agenda. So I will give a short introduction about myself. Then I will start about the global e-invoicing adoption worldwide. And then I will give a demo about our e-invoicing solution outbound. First about me, I'm working more than 10 years at APRO. I have been starting as a consultant, then I did some project management, and nowadays I'm working at the sales department to oversee all the sales of APRO imaging. The next slide is about our company introductions. So yeah, we are APRO, so we act on Oracle Cloud and Oracle e-business suite. So we integrate with both systems out of the box. We are part of Pearsoft, which is a US company, and they work on several other ERP systems next to Oracle. We have a team in more than 9 countries, so we growed a lot since the adoption with Pearsoft. And I think that's good news because our support will even be better. A bit more about e-invoicing in general, and more about the features, the adoption, and the business impact. So first, about the core features. So that's, of course, automation. That's the first part, because all e-invoices are XML formats. It could be different XML formats, but basically you stop using OCR, which means that you don't use optical character recognition anymore on e-invoices, which means every data that you can find in an XML can be mapped to the right Oracle Open Interface field. And therefore, all the data can be found where it should be found. The second thing, of course, standardization. I just said an XML format is not always the same. So we try to make, or they try to make it as standard as possible. You can see that with the Peppol network, where everyone needs to use like a Peppol BIS 3.0 XML format, but it could also be that a different format is needed to be used. The next thing is real-time reporting. So you can see that when you send out an invoice in some countries, you send the invoice to the government, and basically that means they know already which tax they can collect or withdraw from the invoices that you send out. So they already know everything that comes in and comes out for each company which are sending invoices to each other. And the last but not least is the digital signature, which means that if an invoice is a valid invoice, yes or no. So we already have companies that are using this signature. What we see with Peppol, only I believe in Poland, you need like a number that you need to mention on the invoice before you can say it's a valid invoice. Other Peppol countries, they still send invoices over without any government interference. What you see, of course, is that the global adoption, so it's not only in Europe, but you can see it's in India, Latin American, and also in the US. There's a lot of volunteers to use e-invoicing because it brings automation. What's the impact? Well, the biggest impact is, of course, that you need to be capable of receiving and sending XML invoices. And of course, it would be good if you could have a system that could also automate in the right way, because you can have an XML invoice or receive XML invoices by Peppol or by the government platform, but how can you automate that whole process? So basically, APRO is helping you with not only collecting the invoices, but also processing them directly into Oracle. So these are the e-invoicing countries that we support at the moment. So, and it's growing each month. So we see that we are already adopting a lot of countries. And yeah, we will send, of course, the PowerPoint afterwards, so you can look at if all the countries that you need are inside of this slide. Global changes means also different systems. So not every country will have the same model as what you see in here. Like you see, for example, in Italy, all the invoices go first to the government, and from the government they go to the buyer. For this example, you can also see that other countries are working the same as Italy, and other countries are not. So as you can see that like the fifth corner model is that you send parallel invoices. So you send invoices to the government, but you still also send the invoice straight to the buyer. So you have all different kinds of ways that invoices needs to be sent out, and you need to be prepared for each single country which has specific models to send or receive invoices. APRO. So I already talked about it a bit. So we have an APRO platform that covers all the countries and all the e-invoicing processes. So not only for incoming invoices, but also for outgoing invoices. So we already did email, but we of course also now do the e-invoicing networks. So basically we connect to PEPL or to the government platforms to collect invoices, and on the other way, we also connect to the government platform and PEPL to send out invoices. So we pick up your transactions out of Oracle, and based on the transaction information, we create the XML file, sometimes also the PDF file. I will tell a bit later about that. And then we send it over in several ways. It could still be an email. It could still be through a government portal or PEPL. Or if you would like, we can also save the PDF file, so the actual invoices on a STP drive, that you can print them out and send them to your customers. Everything is connected, of course, to Oracle. We are an out-of-the-box application, so there are no customizations needed in Oracle to work with APRO e-invoicing. I think that's an important thing to know. So all interfaces are built and are already in our application. So there's no need to worry about the communication between APRO and Oracle. So like I said, we are going to talk about outbound accounts receivable side. So what can APRO do for the outbound model of Oracle? So what we do is that we create um, several identifiers within the customer side level. So we have a send method, an identifier, and an XML format. Those are the three attributes that we create on the customer side level. We also create an attribute level on the transaction level on the invoices, which is the APRO status, which means if an invoice is already sent out, if it's not picked up, if there are errors, that means that the invoice could not be sent out for some kind of reason. And one other thing that we look at, and that's also an important one, if the bill column is placed on yes or no. Why? Because it could be that you're already creating PDF invoices, of course, in Oracle, and that's already a scheduled process. So APRO doesn't create the PDF. It only picks up the PDF. It will place it inside of the XML and then send it over the network that you prefer. So we run everything through APIs. So we update Oracle if things are sent out, and we pick up the transactions with an API to collect all the data out of Oracle. So the customer level and the transaction level, like I told, are needed to make sure that APRO is working. So based on those attributes that are created in Oracle, APRO can already process the outbound e-invoicing. So there are no other customizations needed to make the system work. So now we come to the demo. I think that's the most important part, and I will show two different kind of transactions. So the first transaction is through PEPL. So we pick up a transaction from the customer shell. Then we transfer this invoice from the AR model into APRO, and APRO will send it out and send it to Shell through the PEPL network with the PEPL identifier. It will use a PeppleBiz 3.0 format that will be sent to Shell, and all the information will be in. On the other side, we will send another invoice, ACI Recon. This will need a validation and a check because there are missing tags in the XML file, and that's the reason why it's not validated. So we need to first fix it, and then I will resend it again, and then it will be delivered. So those are the two options that I would like to show you. So let's start with the demo itself. So this is Oracle. This is a transaction which is just created by me. So the only thing is it's not complete, which means that APRO will not pick it up. So APRO will only pick up complete transactions, and it will check, of course, if all the fields are correctly entered. So what do I mean by miscellaneous? It will check the APRO invoice status. If it's empty, it means nothing has happened to the invoice. For this particular example, I will create the PDF and XML, so not only the XML, but also the PDF. And those two things are now set correctly. One other thing, There are no attachments yet. Like I said, there is no PDF yet. Else, if the PDF would already be attached, APRO would pick up the PDF and place it into the XML. After it's complete and sent out by APRO, you will see the XML file and the PDF file attached behind the transaction, also in Oracle. So you will have also your invoice XML, the original invoice in Oracle. So I click on complete, and basically that's the steps that you need to do in Oracle. So you create a transaction, you make sure that all the attributes are on the right place, and then you can just save and close, and the transaction is made. So we just need to collect this transaction number because that's important, because that's the one that APRO will pick up. The other example that I had is already created by APRO, but it was with an error message because it could not be created. So I start with the APRO screen. So this is the main screen of APRO, and here you can see the outbound model. And here you can see 4 sandboxes. I will start with the first sandbox, which is the runs that APRO creates. So in here you can check for each single run. It's a scheduled process that runs automatically, like each 5 or 10 minutes, to pick up and collect completed transactions that can be sent out to the customers. You can also schedule it once a day, like 5 to 6, or maybe you schedule it like each hour. That's something you can depend on how you would like to work. You can also see when it's sent out and what it's actually sending. So for example, this is a run from today as well. So it's also to Shell. You can see it's sent through the PEPL network. You can also see the identifier from Shell and some information from the customer that you can see in here. How do I know that it's sent out? You can see that the checkbox is finished. This means that APRO received a message from the PEPL network that it's delivered and that the invoice is correctly sent through the PEPL network. So we just have to wait until the new invoice comes in to be able to create a new run. If I go to another run from yesterday, you can see the finish flag is not there. So it's empty. So it's not finished, it's not sent out. And the reason is, I don't know. So that's something we need to check. So why is this transaction not sent out? You can go to the workbench. So there's a workbench for filled invoices. And I will just pick up the ones that we would like to see. So I will not see from 1 month. I will just go to yesterday. I click on search, and there will be one transaction which could not be generated. The reason why it could not be generated is because it's missing some mandatory fields in the XML file. So there is no tax amount, and there's no field which says invoice including tax. So that's something I need to fix in Oracle because it's missing tax values, which should be there. So I'm picking up the transaction number from Oracle. I go back and I will look up this transaction. So I go to the transaction, I click on search, and here I can see the transaction. If I'm now in Oracle, you can already see that the PDF is created. So this is the generated PDF by APRO. XML is not generated because it was not correctly created because it's missing something. So let me say, okay, I will make it incomplete again because it's not correct. I will go to text and I'm going to change the text, and I see it's missing the text line. So I'm going to add the text, and it will create a record. It should be 0 anyway, but it needs a text line, so APRO-DE. Then we say save and close. And here again, I say complete and close, and then the invoice is completed. What you can also see in here right now is behind the miscellaneous button, it says ACS validation error. So that's the status now in APRO as well, because it could not get through the validation of PEPL that it will send out a correct XML file. So let me say save and close. So the invoice is adjusted in Oracle. And in here, I say validate transaction again. So the invoice will be moved now. It's not anymore in the workbench, but APRO will now pick up the transaction again and try to reprocess it and send it to the customer. So how will I know if that worked out? You just have to wait until it starts running new interfaces or new runs. And based on that, the transactions will be, start sending again. So we just have to wait until new transactions are created and sent out to be picked up. If you would like to see completed transactions, then you go to history. And from the history screen, you can see all the invoices that are done. from a certain period. So here you can see several invoices that are done. I can open the actual XML file, I can open the PDF file, and both can be found also within APRO. So basically, I can open a PDF that is created, I can open the XML file. So APRO didn't create anything yet for this file. So if I go to one of those completed transactions in APRO, I will see that both attachments are also in Oracle. Here you can see more than one. So we have the XML file and the PDF file attached in Oracle. So that means also the archiving is done and everything is completed. In some countries, you will see that this archiving is not enough and you need a local archiving. Also, that is covered by APRO, that the archiving is done in the country where you need to do e-invoicing. So basically now we are done with the whole process and APRO did everything what it should do. So everything is processed. Also, you can see that the runs are now picked up correctly. And also you can see that now this status bar is on finished and the invoice is sent out. So basically that means that APRO fixed the issue in Oracle and everything is collected. This would be the end of this demo. So Outbound, it's really short because there are not a lot of customizations needed. Like I said, out of the box application, we just connect to the Oracle transactions or the Oracle transaction sources. From there, we pick up all the information out of Oracle and we try to enter all the data out of Oracle.